We're going to be in Joshua chapter number 7. I can go to sleep. Yes. Dr. Mitchell, I'd never seen that in that light, in that song before. Song's ruined forever now. Final exams are coming up soon. Oh, yeah. Isn't that exciting? I was reading about a situation where the teacher got up there and said, okay, now students, you've got 30 minutes for each question. And the student raised her hand, and how many minutes do we have for the answer? Got to think on that one, all right? Got to think on that one. There was some, this is not a Christian school, but I did read this account. I think it was somewhere in Australia. There were some students, they had straight A's in this certain class, and they were all excited to say, hey, let's go away for the weekend and party a little bit. And they overdid it on Sunday. They overslept, and they slept all day on Sunday, and then they traveled back. Their exam was on Monday. They got there on Monday morning. They realized they were not prepared for their exam and said, well, we won't take it. We'll see the teacher afterwards. And so they caught the teacher afterwards and said, hey, we went down to do some research away on the weekend, and we were doing some studying, and on the way back, we had a flat tire, and of course, we didn't have a spare, and so they were really laying it on, and the teacher said, no problem. You can take the exam tomorrow. They are pumped, man. Ooh, we got by with that one. So the next day they get in there, and where they, obviously they must do things a little differently, they had exam booklets. We need to come up with that idea, give you a whole book to do instead of just, front or back on one piece of paper. I was like, we're easy here. Anyway, so they get their exam books. They're put in separate rooms. First question's pretty easy. It was worth 5 points. And they're all excited. They turn the page, each one individually in their own rooms. Second question, worth 95 points on the test. Which tire? I think they were toast. So all that to say is, you think you can come up with some pretty good excuses and reasons to get out of your exams. It's not going to fly. We are in Joshua chapter 7, and I hope this will be an encouragement to you. We'll pick up, the message is about how to respond to failure. How to respond to failure. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing, for Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Fairhaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, go up, and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai, and they returned to Joshua. Said unto him, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai. And make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few. So there went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai, and the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men, and they chased them before the gate, even unto Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord until the eventide. And the elders of Israel and put dust upon their heads. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for your love to us. Thank you for your word and how there are so many lessons in it, and how we can see truths and principles that will help us in our day-to-day lives. And I pray, Lord, that you'd help those who might be struggling and those who have experienced some setbacks in their lives to get some encouragement from this passage and get some determination to do what's right and to follow you, and that you can bless their lives. Please guide in the service. Help me, Lord, say the things I ought to say, Lord, and to cover what is most needful. But Holy Spirit, most of all, I pray you'd help each one of us right now to allow you to speak to us, ask you for something to help us. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. We all experience failures in life. Right? Some more than others. But how we respond is going to determine whether our future will become better or worse. All right? Some here have failed in their studies. I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands of how many people have failed something this semester, but I'm pretty confident that there'd be a number of hands that would go up. Maybe there was a failure on a quiz. Oh, I didn't know we were going to have a quiz. Or, the test comes out and you talk to the teacher like, I didn't have that in my notes. Now, my response always is, I had it in mine. It was in my notes. I spoke it, and if you didn't write it down because you were daydreaming, that's not on me. That's on you, okay? And so you don't do what you're supposed to do, or the deadline comes up, and you've got a choice. Well, I got to study for this test. I got to pass this class and this other class. I'm not so bad, and I got the project due. What am I going to do? Okay, I study for the test. I don't do the project. I get a 0 on the project. Those are not good choices to make. It's better to actually plan ahead and do both, right? But some people have failed in their studies. Some are really struggling. You're wondering, I can't pass this class, or I've got to get 128% on my final to get through this thing, right? And then some have failed in their finances. School bill. I know I'm supposed to have a certain amount paid. Finals are coming. Friday at 5 p.m. deadline. I've got to have 2/3 of my bill paid. I don't have it. And if I don't pay it, there's a fine. And I don't even have enough money for the fine. What on earth? Failure in our finances, our friendships, maybe some sin that continually besets us. We call it besetting sins. It's really not the sin that besets us. It's us who allows a sin to beset us. We continue to go after it. And you keep having that same setback over and over again. And before you get back on the path of victory, you need to figure out and understand why you failed. Why did you fail in your finances? Well, I'm just praying for a miracle. Well, keep praying. I'm praying for some rich person to give me some money. I'm praying for an inheritance. So are you praying for someone to die? I'm praying that there'll be one question on the test, and I know which tire it was, right? Whatever it is. And we've got to understand what caused us to fail in the first place. The children of Israel, as we see here, they failed in battle. Now, what led to their failure? This is still in the way of introduction. There were a couple things that led to their failure. The first one I see is found in verse number 1, and that's disobedience. But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing. They took of the accursed thing. Okay? And the Bible also says that the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel. And so God was angry because they didn't obey him. They didn't do what he said. He's not obligated to bless rebellion. Well, I'm not rebellious. I'm just not putting the time into my studies that I need to. Is there not a problem with rebellion in your heart? You know what you're supposed to be doing, but you want to do something else. You'd rather visit with people. You'd rather, get on the internet. You'd rather do all these you want to do the things that make you happy, that please you. There's some rebellion going on in there, right? To him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is what? You know what you're supposed to do. Yeah, I know, it's just me. Well, just you better change. Or just you is going to continue to be a failure. Your finances will continue to be a wreck. And if you develop this pattern of wrecking your finances and being filled with covetousness and spending on everything you want and surfing the web and Amazon.com is your best friend and all of that, you've got to get over these things because you develop those patterns, you bring them into life. You're going to, as an adult, I know you're young adults, I understand, but when you get to be a big adult, okay, and you got a family, and you got all of that, and you still have all of these, ideas and patterns of failure, and you don't conquer them now, you're going to take them on to life. And then you'll pass them on to your kids. And they'll even be worse. Ooh, that's tough, isn't it? God's not obligated to bless our rebellion. If you neglect to follow his principles, you're going to be heading for trouble. And maybe you haven't, again, budgeted your money. Well, now you can't pay your bills. You say, budgeted money, is that like a biblical principle? Yeah, it's in there. Okay. Control your money, right? Perhaps you haven't heeded God's wording about, like I said, covetousness and whatever, and you're struggling to catch up. That's disobedience. God's not going to bless that. That's why you failed in the area of finances, why you fail in the area of your studies, because you didn't put the time into the studies. So you got to own it. You got to acknowledge what the problem was. The second thing that led to their failure was presumption. I see that in verse number 3. And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai. He said, there are just a few people up there. We don't need everybody. And so they presumed that they could win in the battle without a lot of preparation, without a lot of soldiers. I think a lot of people presume things too. You know, sometimes you get an upperclassman. Man, I've been at this. I've been doing this. I know what to, I got all this. And you stop trusting God, and then you find yourself short on time and short on grades. You know, I've had upperclassmen who just, I'm thinking, this is an easy class. Of course, I think all my classes are easy. But, you know, and they're like, they're struggling. Like they're bombing things, and they don't turn things in. You're thinking, and you're getting ready to graduate? They do half a report, because they only had half the time scheduled or something. So, yeah, plenty of time for dating, plenty of time for all these other things that go on, plenty of time for sports, plenty of time to be in the gym shooting a few hoops. And ladies, I know you're not in the gym shooting hoops, doing whatever you're doing, curling your hair or something. Oh. They didn't consult God before the battle. They just went in. They just presumed, yeah, we're going to get it. You know, that's pride. When we think we got it together. I got this. I got a job. I got my finances. I got this. And all of a sudden, you don't got it. God says we're supposed to pray for our daily bread. Oh, we don't have to pray for our daily bread. You know, my cupboard, I got plenty of food in my cupboard. Why do I have to pray for my daily bread? Because God said so. Whether you got lots or little, you got to learn to depend on God and still trust him. And we've got to understand it's our fault. And when things get tough, you know what happens? A lot of times we get ready to quit. You know, what's the use? I failed. And sometimes they haven't completely failed. And you could still get through the class, but you're so demoralized, you're so down. And the same thing with sin. I've tried, I can't get over the sin, and it's just me, and I can't get over it. And you accept it, and you just sit there and wallow in it. We're going to see in a moment here, that's what was happening with Joshua. Don't just say, what's the use? The account of Israel's defeat at Ai provides some wonderful lessons about getting back on the path to victory. So I want to consider 3 things that we can do. What we can do after we fail. All right. Number 1, go to God. Go to God. Look at it in verse number 6. And Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord until the eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads. And he went and humbled himself before God. That was a great beginning. You see, I think you have to have, when you go to God, you have to have the right direction. He was going to God. Where do you go who do you call upon when you have problems? Your friend? Your parents? Your preacher? Your youth pastor? Oh, those people can be of help, but those aren't the people you go to first. You go to God. And that's where he went. He went to God. And let me remind you, I've got a couple verses I think it'll be encouragement to you if you're struggling. You can jot them down and look them up later. Psalm 46:1. God is our refuge. It's a place we can hide. And strength. A very present help in what? in trouble. You got some trouble? He's a very present help. He's there to help. Why don't we look for him? Why don't we take him up and say, Lord, I need some help? Okay. Then Psalm 145, verse 18, the Lord is nigh unto all them that call upon him, to all that call upon him in truth. God's close to anybody who reaches out to him. And he says, especially those people who are calling upon him in truth. They're coming with a right heart's attitude. They're coming admitting where they've messed up. They're not coming demanding things from the Lord. They're coming in truth saying, Lord, I need help. I need mercy. I blew it here. And I'm just asking that you'll intervene. And can we do that? I think we can. If we're truthful with him and we admit that we've messed up and we ask for mercy, we'll find that his mercy endureth forever. What does he say? What did David say when he sinned? In Psalm 51:1, he said, have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according to the multitude of thy tender mercies, blot out my transgressions. He came, he knew he had sinned, but he was asking for mercy. Did God give it to him? Oh, yes, because his mercy endures forever. You go through and you look at all the accounts where someone asked God for mercy. Look through the scriptures and you see where people cried out to Jesus and said, have mercy upon me. Did he ever refuse anyone who asked for mercy? None. Will you be the first one? No. No. And I like this one in Psalm 31, verse 9. Have mercy upon me, O Lord, for I am in trouble. Mine eye is consumed with grief, yea, my soul and my belly. Man, it even hurt his stomach. He said he was consumed with grief. So what was he doing? Asking for mercy. Lord, I'm in trouble. I need some help. You ever feel that way? Maybe you're in that situation right now. You've got a lot of things piling up on you. Problems at home, problems at school, problems with your roommate, problems with your finances, problem with your grades, problem with your teachers. You're just one big problem. I got so many troubles. What do I do? Cry out for mercy. Say, but it's my fault. I can't really go to God. Well, that's the lie of the devil. Because we just saw a couple accounts where people knew it was their fault and they went to God and God helped them. It doesn't mean God's going to take all your problems away, but he can help you through them. You know, ultimately, did he want Israel to have victory? Yes. They were having defeat. He wants them to get up, get dusted off, and get back at it. He wants to give them victory. He wants to do the same for us, too. That's where we need to be heading. And so Joshua started out in the right direction. He went to God in prayer, but, as we'll see in the next verse, he didn't go with the right attitude. So we have to have the right direction, first of all, but we also have to have the right demeanor. Look here in verse number 7. Verse number 7, and Joshua said, alas, O Lord God. So he starts praying. That's good. It's about as far as it was good. Wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites, to destroy us? Would to God we had been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan. He said, God, what'd you do? Did you bring us over here just to kill us all? It would have been better if we didn't even come into this promised land thing. We should have just stayed on the other side of the Jordan River. It was pretty good over there. In fact, 2.5 tribes over there thought it was pretty good, and they wanted their inheritance over there. Seemed like a pretty good area, pretty big enough area. And now he's praying to God. Does this sound like a prayer? What are you doing? Did you bring us over here to kill us? It would have been better if we were over there. So he's complaining. He's falsely accusing God. Then it says in verse 8, O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us round, and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do unto thy great name? Oh, yeah, he had the right direction, but he did not have the right demeanor. Joshua was having what a lot of people have, a first-class pity party. Woe is me. He's got a lot of problems. And so, just going to complain, question God. He regretted God's will. He regretted following God's will. He regretted even coming into the promised land. Like, what's this? Have you ever had a pity party? Man, what did I even come to college for? Why did I even take that stupid class? It was a stupid rule. Got to pay my school bill? That's dumb. Really? Yeah. Man, I would have been better off if I just stayed at home, not come back at the semester break. I knew I shouldn't have come back. I knew last year I shouldn't have come back for a second. Why I came back for my sophomore year? What on earth was I thinking? I'm done. I'm like totally done. People. You start having a pity party. You start accusing God. You start questioning God. You start doubting His will. Wait, did God lead you? Yeah. Then why did you fail? Because he messed up? Or because you had some problems? A lot of times God leads us into situations to show us that we don't have it. That some situations are far beyond us. And we need to learn to trust God. And sometimes He exposes our weaknesses just simply so we see that we're not all that we need. We're not what we ought to be yet. And we need to trust God. And we got some work to do. And stop having a pity party. And when you fail, you're going to be tempted to wallow in self-pity and sit there in sorrow. And, oh. Are you going to be able to win a battle that way? How are you going to get your bill paid that way? How are you going to get your grades up that way? Nothing changes except they only get worse when you do nothing. So here we see Joshua. Children of Israel failed in battle. Goes to God. Great start, but didn't last long. You know, how often do we go to God in prayer about something and before long we end up just getting all upset about the problem we're supposed to be casting upon Him? It's like we're just bringing it up and heaping more upon ourselves while we're supposed to be praying. And it's not even prayer. And our pity, we're having pity parties instead of having time with God in prayer. So go to Him in prayer, but don't come with a sour attitude and stop blaming Him. It's not God's fault. It's not God's fault. So what do? We go to God. Number 2, we get up. I was really debating, what to name this point. Get up or get over it. It's both. And that's what he had to do. He had to get over it. But I see get up here. I use get up because I find it right there in the passage. In verse number 10, and the Lord said unto Joshua, get thee up. Wherefore liest thou upon thy face? Now, God did not handle Joshua with kid gloves. He didn't coddle him. You know, a lot of people, they just want to be comforted and coddled and, oh, I've got a problem, please help me out. Well, I got a shoulder to cry on. Everything is woe is me. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I'm really not sorry. I feel bad. This generation, and if I keep saying it's too bad, this generation can't take rebuke. They wallow in self-pity. Oh, they said something mean to me. I was just talking to you, and you can't even, and everything. And then you got to get on the cell phone. You got to get on the text message and just vent all over the place. And whoa. I really feel bad I do feel bad for this generation. You know, instant messaging, I think, has become a curse. Because a lot of times I think things, and when I think them through, I realize I better not say that. The Bible says, a fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. Wise man knows when to shut up. But, man, we got that instant message. Whew. Oh, yeah? And we just keep on going with it. And you don't take time to think. You don't take time to think even what you... I think that comes right over, it plays right into our spiritual life. We don't think before we talk to God. We just vent. Now Joshua has this problem. He didn't even have a cell phone. Imagine how bad it would have been then, huh? I really think that is part of the problem with this generation. Brother Armacost and I, we've talked about this before. It is just, it's frustrating. God said, "Get thee up! Wherefore liest thus upon thy face? Get up! What are you doing laying down? I promised victory. And you didn't have victory because there's sin in the camp. Get up and go deal with it." You know, when you're reaping for sin, you cannot expect comfort from God until you first deal with the sin. The sin was there. They hadn't dealt with it. Now, I know when Hezekiah, when he was troubled because of Sennacherib and he had surrounded and he had threatened to come in, Hezekiah went to the house of God, and then he sent a message to Isaiah, and God treated Hezekiah differently than he treated Joshua. Why? Because there was no sin in the camp for Hezekiah. And Hezekiah came to God differently than Joshua did. Hezekiah came in humility and faith, not with complaints and accusations against God. And so God sent an answer of peace from the man of God to Hezekiah. I'm not saying that Israel didn't have any sin at that time, but there was a difference in the approach that Hezekiah took. You better learn to come to God the right attitude. So we need to go to God, and then we need to get up. There in I also could read down there in verse number. Let me continue reading. We read verse 10. Let's look at verse 11. Israel has sinned. They have also transgressed my covenant, which I command them. For they have even taken of the accursed thing and have stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. Therefore, the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except you destroy the accursed thing from among you. Then again, verse 13, up, sanctify the people. Get up, get up. So what was Joshua told to do? First of all, we see in verse number 11, he was told to acknowledge the sin, right? Israel have sinned. Sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, when you haven't fixed your problem, nothing's going to change. You got a problem? Got a problem with sin? Got a problem with attitude? Got a problem with laziness? Whatever it is, find the cause of your trouble. Own up to it when you're the one to blame, and stop passing the buck. And we see next in there in verse number 12, remember the consequences of sin. We just read that. They couldn't stand before their enemies. There are consequences. All right? There always are consequences. Sin always hinders God's blessing. It always does. We always want to have God's blessing. We look around and get jealous of other people who have God's blessing. But then we don't want to take responsibility for our own actions. And if you don't deal with your disobedience or your presumption like they had, things aren't going to change. Then we see the third thing he told them to do there in verse number 13, to take away the sin. Right? He said, you're not going to be able to stand against your enemies at the end of the verse there. He says, until you take away the accursed thing from among you. Many times people see that they've got a problem, but they're not going to do anything to change. Yeah, I know I've been blowing my money at the fast food. I know I haven't been paying my bill, but man, yeah, I've been going out here to eat here and buying this here online and doing this, and then nothing changes. You'll say, yeah, I know I blew it, and then so the next day, what do? You're at the convenience store and you're spending $9.99 for a Monster drink. Yeah, but I need this to stay awake so I can work, so I can make the money, so I can pay my bill. And you just justify everything. Well, I'm down right now, a good meal would make me feel better. No, confessing your sin and getting on your finances will make you feel a whole lot more better. So we need to take away the sin, deal with the problem. And if you're lazy, you know what that means? Get to work. If you procrastinate, I'm sure no one in here has ever had a problem with procrastination. You can tell. I can tell. Someone's got a paper and they're going along the first, 2 pages are, they're addressing everything. And the last page, the first 2 pages cover, one thing that they were supposed to do. There's 2 more things they're supposed to do, and they haven't even gotten to the other things. It's like, oh, I wonder if they just ran out of time. Yep. Procrastination. So if you procrastinate, stop doing what you want to do at the moment and focus on what you're supposed to do. Procrastination is not just a character flaw, it's a selfishness problem. You put you first. And you are on the throne. And you want to have control. And you're going to do what you want to do. And when you have time and when you feel like it, how many times have you said, man, I just don't feel like studying right now? Right? Oh, man, that doesn't go away. Sometimes it's like, I'm supposed to be preaching. I don't feel like studying. Well, that would be great. Just show up. Hey, sorry guys. I got the first point for you. There's supposed to be a couple more points, but I didn't feel like finishing it. And really, I'm not so concerned about giving an account to you for not doing what I'm supposed to do, but I've got to answer to God. Sometimes it'd be a whole lot easier. I've got hundreds of sermons on file. I got sermons I forgot I even preached. I got 100. I could just say, well, I got to preach. This looks like a good one. Yeah. But that doesn't float. If God says, I want you to speak on this subject to these people, and then I don't have a sermon on it, and then I got to go get one from God in the Bible through studying. It takes time. I like to sleep. Sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do. It's not that I don't like to study the Bible. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there are a lot of times you don't feel like doing things, but it's not about you. It's about pleasing God and doing what you're supposed to do. So if you procrastinate, stop taking care of yourself. If you're covetous, this is a real easy part. Stop spending. I can't. I gotta get. No, you just stop. You gotta go through withdrawals. It's like shop. If you keep getting trouble with someone, end the friendship. Did your parents ever tell you that once in a while that you and so are not good for each other? How many have ever heard that? They're not a bad kid, and I'm not saying you're a bad kid, but when you guys together, you're bad. All right? And you keep doing stupid things, you keep saying stupid things, you keep getting yourself in trouble, and what's even worse is you haven't got caught yet, and you still do stupid things. It's going to come. And, if you've got someone who's bad for you, stop it! Just get away from them. But they're my friend. They're not a good friend. It's time to change friends. It's pretty simple. So we need to go to God. Then we need to get up and stop sitting there and wallowing in our problems and do something about it. Take care of things. If you are struggling financially, if you're struggling with your grades and you sit there, oh, it happened to me again, then stop! Just get sick and tired of failing all the time. Go to God, ask for mercy, and kick yourself in the seat of the pants or the seat of the culottes. And say, I'm going to get going. And when you're tempted to do, it's just simple. The Bible says we're supposed to die to self. Death hurts. I haven't done it yet. I've tried a few times. The times I've tried, it hurts. Okay? But I'm telling you, we got to just get over ourselves. Then number 3 is go to work. So you go to God. You get up or get over it, whatever you want to call it. Stop sitting there and having a pity party. Get over it, and then go to work. Buckle down. Buckle down. Don't throw in the towel. So it's impossible for me to pass this course. Well, get as close as you can. Because if you just give up now, you've just again reiterated the fact that you're going to fail next time around too. Break the pattern and do what's right. Maybe God will bless. Ooh, that would be interesting. Go to work. Chapter 8, verse number 1. And the Lord said unto Joshua, so they dealt with the sin, by the way, and they took Achan, they caught him, they took him down, and they stoned him and burned him with fire. They took care of the sin. And the Lord said unto Joshua, verse 1, fear not, neither be thou dismayed. Take all the people of war with thee, and arise, go up to Ai. See, I have given into thy hand the king of Ai, and his people, and his city, and his land, and thou shalt do to Ai and her king as thou didst unto Jericho and her king. Only the spoil thereof and the cattle thereof shall ye take for a prey unto yourselves. Lay thee an ambush for the city behind it. So Joshua arose, and all the people of war did go up against Ai, and Joshua chose out 30,000 mighty men of valor and sent them away by night. Of course, he divided the armies. God still wanted them victorious. Did they fail? Yes. Did he give up on them? No. Did he still have good thoughts and good plans for them? Yes, but they first had to deal with their sin. And God hadn't changed his mind about them. He hasn't changed his mind about blessing you and helping you with your grades, helping you with your finances, helping you have victory over sin, helping you to have good friendships. He hasn't changed. He wants to give you victory too. Don't throw in the towel. Learn from your mistakes. Get to work. And Joshua was instructed to bring all the men of war. In like manner, we need to put all of our energy into tackling our problems. Get focused. Some things you got to set aside. Trust God, follow him, and do your part. A sustained effort is necessary. Look at verse 18 of chapter 8. And the Lord said unto Joshua, stretch out the spear that is in thy hand toward Ai, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward the city. Drop down to verse 25. So it was that all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. Oh, why? Verse 26, for Joshua drew not his hand back. Get that? Stretch it out. And he didn't draw his hand back. You know, a sustained effort is necessary to have victory. You don't just start and say, I tried. Pull the spear back. That's what some people do. I try. I'm going to try it. No, it's not working. Oh. I'm tired of holding my hand. Just stay at it. And keep at it. Don't draw back. Don't quit. A just man falleth how many times? 7. But what does he do? He riseth up again. Why is he a just man? You think a just man shouldn't fall. No, he was a just man because he got up. And that's what's going to make you a just man, just person. You're going to fail. We all fail. Even righteous people fall. But getting back up makes us righteous. There's a lot of people in history who failed and went on to be great successes. Winston Churchill repeated a grade during elementary school. He entered Harrow, which was a boys' school, and was placed in the lowest division of the lowest class. Later, he failed twice the entrance exam to the Royal Military Academy. He was defeated in his first effort to serve in Parliament. He eventually became Prime Minister. You know why? Didn't quit. Thomas Edison's teacher said he was too stupid to learn anything. You might be thinking the same thing. He was fired from his first 2 jobs for being non-productive. As an inventor, he made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts when he was working on the light bulb. When a reporter asked him, how did it feel to fail 1,000 times? Edison said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Einstein took him a long time to learn to speak. He didn't speak at an early age. His parents were really frustrated with him, and he didn't learn to read until a little bit later than most people. His parents thought he was subnormal, and one of his teachers described him as mentally slow. Eventually, he did learn to speak. He learned to read, and he even figured out how to do a little bit of math. Michael Jordan, you might not have heard that guy before. He used to play basketball. He was cut from his high school basketball team. So in high school, he was cut. He didn't even make it on the team. I said, you're not good enough. He later said, I failed over and over again in my life. That is why I succeed. Now, take it from secular people. Oh, but there's another one, Dr. Seuss. This is a good one. You know, his first book was rejected by 27 different publishers. And aren't you glad he found someone to finally publish? I mean, what would you do without green eggs and ham, right? Face your failures. Stop sitting in sorrow. Get up. Deal with sin that you might have. Trust God for victory. He still wants you to be victorious. And don't quit. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes.